That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It is Commissioner Cooper, and welcome. You have made it to the boss level. You're at your championship. We got to win it for you. It's the new year as well, so happy New Year weekend to you. It's time for TSS Fantasy. It's time for TSS Fantasy. Fantasy. It's time for TSS Fantasy. Fantasy. It's time for TSS Fantasy.
You know, the great thing about being a football player is you don't have to take a shower to go to work.
There it is.
There it is indeed. Speaking of taking showers, what did the Fox say? Chris Fox, welcome into the studio, my friend.
What's going on? Showers are my thing. I love showers. Let's do it. Baby showers, hot showers. I don't care. Let's go.
It's all good. A shower is all good. Cold, hot, whatever. Let's get it on. It is New Year's Eve weekend, my friend. I'm happy you're here to break down this huge weekend. I know a lot of, if you're watching right now, you're into your championship week. We had some stuff go on last night. We got lots of stuff to break down. I got my fantasy friends in, and of course I got Brian in as well. So let's get this puppy going. We'll pay the bills first, of course. Go to you. If you're on the YouTube, hit that subscribe button for us. Hit a like, hit a comment. We appreciate that. Little things stopping you from doing it. Big things popping for us when you do. So we do appreciate when you do that. Underdog Fantasy as well. Use the promo code TSS. We'll double that deposit up to $100, of course. Lots of great parlays to play and fun games over the weekend. So make sure you check that out. Same with Jazz Sportsbook, and the same types of promos are there as well. So make sure you check those boys out. And then if you're looking for some championship bling, we're here. Look no further than Pro-Am Belts. Got some bling coming. Speaking of that real quick, and it was funny. Yeah, they got some great stuff. Speaking of their great stuff, we are out of that mix, believe it or not, into that belt that we thought we were getting. Both of us were knocked out last week. So Dan Mater's moving on and Tip Major are moving on. In our summer tour, that was our best ball. I forget, it was maybe wasn't super flex, but whatever. Tomato.
Boys.
Good job, Dan Mater. Good job, Tip Major. They will be playing for the Pro-Am Belts title. That's really exciting. So congrats, boys. It's a new year. I know a lot of you are looking for some titles to win. So let's go over some injuries. I got our paid expert in the house. Let's bring in Bri from the injury list.
Gentlemen,
what is up, Brian? Welcome into the studio, my friend.
Thanks for having me. Exciting as we come down to the very end here. Exciting.
This is it. Start all the way. We had our little summer tours, start things off. We all hung out in Canton together. It was a great time. And now here we are. It's the end of the new year. And a lot of us want to bring home those championships. So tell us about the guys we can't put in and the guys we can.
Well, there's a lot. There's a lot of guys you can't put in, and a couple caught me by surprise, starting with Trevor Lawrence. I thought for sure we'd see him, but then I guess if you're going to miss your first game, it might as well be against the Panthers. He's been officially listed as out with a shoulder issue that he injured a couple weeks ago, and so he missed his first NFL game. But coming back in will be CJ Stroud. He cleared concussion protocol, was a full participant in practice today. I think we will see Will Levis. He was a full participant yesterday and sounds like he's on track to play. Taylor Heinicke was dealing with an ankle issue and was limited in practice earlier in the week, but then Jacoby Brissett tweaked his hammy in practice and now is being listed as questionable and was limited today in practice. So interesting what's going to happen there after he was named the starter. Running back position, I don't think you're going to want to play Josh Jacobs. He's got a doubtful tag, which means there was only a 25% chance that we actually see him play. He's dealing with some type of quad issue. Isaiah Pacheco is dealing with a concussion and a shoulder issue. He did return to limited practice on Friday. He'll carry a questionable tag in. Whether or not he actually was cleared or will be cleared is the question remaining. Chuber Hubbard dealing with a limited practices with a hamstring issue. If you didn't get a full practice in today, I'm hard-pressed to see him suit up. Devin O'Shane, you might know this one, Jason. He missed practice on Wednesday. Not sure what he's done the rest of this week, but he's been banged up all season. Started out real promising. He looked real good. He played through some minor injuries, but lately it's been the complete opposite. He's been dealing with some questionable injuries and questionable participation.
He's going to suck it up and play. That's my answer.
Gosh darn it.
You might be right.
Act like a millionaire.
One guy who is sucking it up and is Brian Robinson. He has officially been taken off the injury report after he got in a full practice today, and that's with a hamstring issue. And if you always listen to the show, I always say, unless you see a guy get a full practice in with a hamstring issue, be very wary of them. Robinson's a classic example here, was able to get through a full practice and has been taken off the injury report. Chris Rodriguez.
Even if you do get
yeah.
the practice in with the hamstring, right? Like, I mean, those things are such a nagging injury, it seems like, and obviously you would know better in your professional opinion. Like, that's something you just kind of like want to shy away from. If a guy's got a hammy injury, just wait till he show you something. 9 times out of 10, even if they get through, maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit, but even getting through a full practice session doesn't guarantee that they won't aggravate it or tweak it game time, because you really cannot replicate game situations even in a full practice. It's just damn near impossible to do. So it's a good sign that they're feeling well and that they've able to push it up in their level of play and and stuff, but doesn't necessarily mean they're going to get through unscathed. So keep that in the back of your mind. Chris Rodriguez was placed on IR with an ankle issue. Zach Moss is officially listed as out with whatever this mystery forearm injury is. But as you were talking earlier, Jason, Alexander Madison was cleared for full go in the Sunday night game, so he'll be back after dealing with his ankle issue. In the wide receiver spot, we got a lot of stuff going on, probably more so than any other position right now, aside from the quarterback, only because all the quarterbacks are out already. So receiving position, you got Jamar Chase dealing with this AC joint sprain that caught me by surprise last week. He missed, got a limited practice in on Thursday and today. Sounds like he's going to be listed as questionable. He's been talking some smack and throwing some shade at the Chiefs. Makes you wonder if he's actually going to suit up and back it up on the field. We'll have to see. I'm not really sure how this is going to play out, because I thought for sure he would actually play last week and then he didn't. So maybe we see him this weekend. Maybe that's why he's kind of trying to get the engine revved up there by talking some smack. Michael Pittman. This is another one. Last week, I thought for sure he'd be playing because he cleared concussion protocol. Or I'm sorry, that he wasn't going to be playing because he had cleared, that he got cleared, or he got, I don't know how it played out, but it was all screwy, and he ended up playing, I think, when he wasn't supposed to, or whatever the hell happened. Well, this week, it kind of is playing out the same way. He was actually cleared again today. He's been practicing in full. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Hopefully he won't have these symptoms pop back up again like they did last minute, and he'll make it through. Jalen Waddle has officially been listed as out with his ankle issue I think he's dealing with. Tyreek Hill should be good to go. Jordan Addison is questionable, got a limited practice in Thursday and Friday. Christian Watson dealing with his hamstring, and here's another classic example of that. He didn't practice all week, and he's listed as doubtful, which they might as well just say he's out. I doubt he'll be playing. Even if he does, he won't be effective at all. Jaden Reed did practice this week. He should be back, dealing with a toe issue. Dontavian Wicks, again, another guy who didn't practice all week, dealing with an ankle issue, but for some reason is carrying a questionable tag, which is kind of surprising. One ESPN report said that he got a very limited practice in, which I don't really know what that means. You're either in or you're out, basically. Limited means that you were probably working with the training staff on the side, and I haven't seen any reports to confirm that, so I'm guessing he's not going to be available. Cortland Sutton, dealing with a concussion, is officially out. He has not cleared protocol. Zay Flowers has a calf issue. He was questionable. Did get a practice in limited fashion today. Sounds like he's going to try to go. Zay Jones, knee and a hamstring issue. He's also listed as questionable and got a limited session or two this week. He might be a game time decision. Josh Palmer officially out with a concussion. And then the tight end position, we saw TJ Hawkinson go down. That's unfortunate. It's going to severely affect his availability for next year. Chance that he might miss the entire season if he makes it back at all. It may be just for very few games toward the end of the year, depending on what they need to do. He has an ACL, MCL, and likely some type of meniscal injury. The question is what they have to do to surgically reconstruct and repair everything. So we'll have to see how that plays out in the offseason. Hunter Henry, Cole Kmet, both listed as questionable. Both got in limited practices this week, both dealing with knee issues. And Luke Musgrave has been cited at practice, but he's still probably going to be out. He's listed as doubtful, dealing with some type of kidney issue. He hasn't played since November. Not sure if it's a medical thing or if it's like a physical thing, like a contusion or something, but I don't think he's going to be suiting up yet.
Wow, that was a long, excuse me, that was a long list, man. Jeez, oh, please. Big, busy weekend, Brian, man. We really appreciate that. There are some guys that have been teetering, and not only just them, but, of course, their backups affected. C.J. Stroud, for example, huge update on him because Tank Dell, I'm not Tank Dell, sorry, but their Texans receivers, and Dalton Schultz, they take up a notch a little bit. So anyway, long story short, your information's been invaluable all season long. We always appreciate you, Bri. During the off season's coming up here shortly, so we know you cover more than just football and do other things. So let everyone know where they can subscribe and get all your great content.
Yeah, so as always, you can follow me on X/Twitter at Injured List Pod, like we have down below here. I got the website, theinjuredlist.com, where we'll be doing some podcasting at the Injured List podcast. Where Chris Fox will probably be joining us for an episode in the near future, right, Chris? We've been talking about maybe doing a little Super Bowl special. We'll have to wait and see.
Action up there.
We'll see. Yeah. We'll keep that on the down low until we finalize all the details. And then I'll be doing a little episode with Andrew LeDuc. We'll be kind of rehashing our Inside the Medical Tent blog that we did this season, kind of going over some hits and misses there and some off-season injuries that we can pay attention to and kind of track to see what are going to happen to some of those players as we near preseason next year, and whether or not you need to be wary of those guys or what to do in that situation if you got your dynasty leagues. And then, bringing guests on the podcast like we do all the time. We got a bunch of episodes kind of on the back burner we've been waiting to publish. Hopefully get those out in the new year here. Got some other guests that we're lining up heading into 2024. So looking for bigger things, better things as we move into the new year. And, that's just, that's pretty much it.
Well, happy New Year.
That's not enough for anything.
You and yours. Go ahead, Chris. My bad.
No, I'm just going to say that's not enough for anything.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. That's a mouthful, right? Right. Listen, man, we appreciate you. Happy New Year to you and yours. We'll also be doing some playoff style shows. So, of course, we'll be reaching out and seeing we can get you on, obviously, get some invaluable info while we do our picks and that fun stuff. So, once again, lots of appreciation and Happy New Year to you and yours, my friend.
Same to you, fellas. Thank you very much.
Hey,
we appreciate you. Get your dancing shoes on, boy, because it's time to bring it on down.
Break down! Bring it on down! Bring it on down! Bring it on down!
Freddie's still out of breath from doing that. All right.
So are we from laughing at him.
Right, yeah, exactly. Before we move on to the breakdown, let's talk real quick about last night. I was not expecting that. I'll be just straight up honest with you. I thought that was going to be a 9-3, 6-2. Like, that's what I was expecting. When the Browns came down that first drive, I was like, oh my goodness, Joe Flacco, the real deal, Holyfield
MVP, just taking some while to get started. Like, he wasn't playing bad. We talked about this on other shows here on the network for a couple weeks now that, he came out, he has been ready to go. He just wasn't getting the W's. And I think it makes Cleveland really dangerous when the playoffs are on the line, because that's essentially what it was. The playoffs were on the line, and all they needed was that win, and he goes out there and just torches one of the best defenses in the entire NFL. You can put something on the Jets and say they weren't ready. Maybe they overlook it, whatever. But I mean, this is Cleveland all the way. This is Flacco stepping up. And maybe the second half, everybody got dialed in and we saw everything get back to maybe the way it should have been. But that first half, the Jets were not ready for Joe Flacco. And they got it. They got it all.
They definitely. And Joe Flacco, you could tell he was fired up, ready to go. Locked in, 309 yards, 3 TDs, 1 pick. Again, great outing from him. Now, Jerome Ford put in some nice work as well. And I was going to say, as you were talking about Joe Flacco, imagine if they had a healthy Nick Chubb going on with this team going into this playoffs. Wow.
They talked about it during the broadcast. I mean, what a hit those guys took.
We had family over, so I had the volume down, and then it became, let's watch a movie. So I had to put it on another TV. I didn't really get to hear anything. All right, so David Njoku, by the way, last night, God, the one thing I did kept seeing was this man flashing in front of the screen, 6 receptions, 134 yards. Elijah Moore, the unfortunate hit. I didn't talk to Doc about it. But 5 receptions, 61 yards, and a TD. Like I said, the unfortunate hit that happened.
Doc put out a tweet about it, and he recognized the posturing that you get with a head injury, with a serious injury. We saw it with Tua last year.
Yep.
So it's going to be interesting to see just how that goes when you look at the Tua injury and how that process went, how the same process might go for Elijah Moore. So heads up play on Doc for jumping on that right away.
Heads up play, no pun intended. Elijah Moore, though, no BS aside, wish him all the best. But as you mentioned, I don't know if we're going to see him again through the rest of the season. As you mentioned, with the Tua injury, I think they're going to take things a little slow. I'm assuming with him. Real quick on the Jet side, really the huge highlight, only real big highlight was Breece Hall, 84 yards on the ground, and he also got you 9 receptions, 42 yards, and a TD. Boy, and
the guy goes 95 and 95 last week, ends up as your RB1, and if you watch any of the show over at that Evan Sports Show, I mean, we run stats and stats and stats, and usually people do not repeat as RB1. It's going to be interesting to see if he repeats as RB1. Both running backs, you got Jerome Ford at 26 plus points, Breece Hall at 27 plus points, and the average right now to make the top 10 for running backs is 18.3. So I would highly expect to see these two on the top 10 list, very up close to the top. That is going to be a really crazy weekend.
Yeah. Well, I'm hoping it is, quite frankly. Let's talk about this weekend. Let's talk about Saturday night. Lions at the Cowboys. So in this one, a little bit of a different breakdown because we'll be doing a little pick on this one. This one, of course, in a dome, so no weather affecting us here. Cowboys lead the overall series 18-12. They've won 5 in a row, actually, between them and the Lions. Last time was in 2022. They won 24-6. Fantasy-wise, the Cowboys are – wait, I got the right – I'm sorry. Lions, they are 27th against fantasy QBs. Cowboys are 13th. Lions are 2nd against running backs. Cowboys are 14th. Receivers, Lions are 27th. The Cowboys are 7th. And 15th against tight ends are the Lions. And the Cowboys, surprisingly, I guess the one chink in their armor, they're 28th against fantasy tight ends. So I'll ask you, my friend, give me some guys you like and don't like, and then give me a winner in this one.
Yeah, this one really, the story here is going to be the Detroit run versus the Dallas pass. Dallas, over the last 5 home games, no team has gone over 108 total team yards, only 2 touchdowns to running backs over the last 5 games. And they've played Philadelphia with Swift. They've played Seattle. They've played Washington. They've played the Giants. They played the Rams, although it was without Kyren. So, I mean, these are teams that are known for running back points, putting up some running back scores, and they've held them all at home. We know the road story, but the Dallas is at home. The Lions, however, have allowed the 7th most fantasy points to wide receivers, 3rd most to the slot, 9th most to tight ends. So this just plays right into the Dallas game plan. Pollard, he's 5th in snap share and goal-to-go touches, but he's minus 12% touchdown rate in the go-to-goals, which is 3rd worst, and that is the Lions' strength, is the run. On the other side, St. Brown has got 9+ targets, 100+ yards, and a touchdown versus touchdown in the last 2. Dallas is 5th best versus wide receivers, 3rd best versus tight ends. So the Lions, who have not gone for less than 140 yards on the ground in their last 4 road games, they're going to be looking to run, and that also plays right into Dallas's wheelhouse because they are so good against the run. We know the story, how many points Dallas puts up at home. I love the Lions. I love the storyline. I think they're going to be fantastic in the playoffs. But when you play Dallas at home, which is why Dallas needs to win this division, Dallas is damn near unbeatable. I definitely am taking the Cowboys in this one.
Yeah, totally agree. Plus a bounce back, from last week. Tough loss in Miami. Now you're back at home. I can see them feeling their oats here. Although, like I said, it's not going to be easy. This Detroit team, they've been money all year. I mean, to go into we know what the Chiefs are now, but to go into their house, while they're getting their rings and to beat them game 1, I'm sorry, that still says a lot to me as far as this Lions team go. However, let's pull up the picks. Let's see what the other guys say. We're all in agreement. Happy New Year. A little firework for it. We all like the Cowboys going into Saturday night.
And if I could, a little surprise for you as well.
Sure.
Let me add this to the stage. I want to do a thing that I'm calling, and this will pop up a couple times on the show, the Chris Fox Fantasy Profile. And we got CD Lamb, CD Phonom, in the 7 home games that they've had. He's had double-digit targets 5 times, double-digit receptions 4 times, over 100 yards 4 times, top 11 fantasy wide receivers 5 of those games, fantasy point range anywhere from 15 to 41. So even if he turns in one of his worst games at home, he's still giving you 15 points. CD Lamb, he's somebody that you're definitely going to want to play. You're going to want to target. You want to pay up for on DFS. You want to talk about players. CD is a guy that you're going to want to grab this week.
Wow. Let me just do this.
Unnecessary, but appreciated.
Great job, my friend. Wow. I am impressed. Color me impressed. That was great. All right, let's go into Sunday and talk about some of these other matchups. We'll go Saints at the Bucks. Oh, and I forgot to mention, by the way, over under on the last game was 52. And they do have the the Cowboys favored by 5.5. I forgot to mention that too. All right, let's go to the next one. Saints at the Bucks. Against fantasy QBs, Saints are 10th, running backs 15th, receivers are 8th, and against tight ends are 19th. The Bucks got some leakage in the secondary, but not that it really matters. Bucks are 25th against fantasy QBs, 4th against running backs, 29th against receivers, and 26th against tight ends. What do you say, my friends? Guys you like and don't like in this one?
Hey, look, the Saints have lost 4 of the last 5 road games, and Tampa's on a 4-game win streak. They've won 5 of the last 7, and those 2 losses were on the road. They're 3-0 at home in the last 3, and they've only got 1 loss inside their own division. They are eyeing up the title in this division. They want this win. They've come through in every other one. Kimura hasn't gone over 68 yards since week 6. He hasn't gone over 100 yards all season. Has broke 12 fantasy points only once since week 9. And people are going to say, look, Tampa averages 24 points to the running back position, which is true. And in the divisional opponents, it's 19 to Bijan. It's 22 to Hubbard in the last games. Kimura had 21 last time they played, but that was because of 13 receptions. Just the way Tampa is playing right now, I have to expect Tampa to really dominate this game. Carr has 8 touchdowns over the past 3 games, so don't sleep on Carr. Olave and Shaheed combined for over 200 yards and a touchdown last week. So the Saints can play, and they're going to show up, and they're going to give Tampa a game. But look, Evans is clutch, even though we know the story against New Orleans. So even if we take Evans out, Godwin's got double-digit targets over the last 3. White has just absolutely turned it on this season. A touchdown in each of the last 4. He finishes a top 10 back in 3 of the last 4. Mayfield is over 20 fantasy points in the last 3. 9 touchdowns over the last 3 and 0 interceptions. Say that again, 20 fantasy points plus 9 touchdowns, 0 interceptions over the last 3. He's QB7 over his last 4. That tells me win-win all day. I'm taking the Bucks.
Love it. I have a bold prediction for this one. Start Mike Evans. You're going to start him no matter what, but you're going to start Mike Evans this week, and you're going to get a top 5 receiver. And the reason I say that is I feel like this is that game. They are feeling themselves at the right time. And the Saints secondary is trash. I'm worried about there's no Lattimore. There's not going to be. I think
That's the problem.
I think Mike Evans is going to go the hell off in this game just to prove it to himself that it's not the Saints and Baker Mayfield, and they got that nice connection. Mark it up now. Top 5 receiver this week for Mike Evans. And like you said, Alvin Kamara, I don't expect a lot from him. This could be a little bit of a sneaky shootout. Could be some fantasy numbers going on in this game. So make sure you check that one out. But you know why you won't be watching it? Because you'll be watching America's team going up to Baltimore to take on the Ravens. God, I can't fucking wait for this. The Dolphins, they are 17th against fantasy QBs. They're 10th against running backs, 13th against receivers, and 7th against tight ends. The Ravens, numero uno against QBs, 6th against running backs, 9th against receivers, and 5th against tight ends. So what do you say? Guys you like and don't like in this one?
I'm sorry, my friend, because I really do want to pull for you here. The stats, the numbers, the history just does not tell a good story. We saw what the Ravens did to Purdy last week, and in fact, only 2 quarterbacks have gone over 17 points versus the Ravens. So if you were looking to play Tua this week, hopefully you've already caught on to that. We were talking about it before the show. The Tua is just not that great. Tua doesn't have over 16 fantasy points in the last 3. He's over 15 fantasy points only once on the road since week 1. He's never gone over 19. He's QB 24 over his last 4. And Baltimore allows the second lowest fantasy points to quarterbacks, like you said. They are 10th to wide receivers, but even Hill has only surpassed 16 fantasy points once on the road with 2 single-digit outings on the road, and now there's no Waddle. That could play out either way, but Mostart has about just as good as stats. I do like A-Chain, and I know he doesn't like that, but I don't know him personally, so I do like A-Chain as a sneaky DFS play. He's got 9 touchdowns in 9 games, not 1 per, but it's a nice sounding stat. But Baltimore allows the 6th lowest fantasy points to the running back position. Miami is 6th fewest points to running backs, and Edwards hasn't gone over 13 over the last 4. But I got to upgrade Lamar in this one. He's going to make that case, maybe even cement that MVP in this one. If Miami can find a way to shut Lamar down, I think they could find a way to win this game. I just don't see it happen in Baltimore. I love you, my friend. I hope for your upset. I really do. But I got the Ravens in this one.
Listen, I've been a Dolphins fan for a long time. It ain't like I'm going into this thing and we got this game, or this is when at some point the expectations get thrown out at some point for the Dolphins.
There's a side of me that wants the Dolphins to lose so that the Bills to win, so we get that last game. That scripted game of Dolphins Bills at the end of the season for the whole thing. I think that would be fun.
Well, it not only will it be fun, but of course I will be there. And, I've already had a whole conversation about it because I can already see, I saw Troy Vincent on, I forgot what show it was, but he's talking about 92 or 93 when the Dolphins had home field advantage throughout. The Bills come in, we were double-digit favorites to beat them, and Thurman fucking Thomas went off on us, who, by the way, I later, as I worked at Dan Marino's, met and told him how much I hated him, and he did not really appreciate it. And I was I was having fun though, just joking around about it. Thankfully, his wife Paige, she thought it was funny, so we're all good. But
take your opportunities when you can.
Sneaky name. I have a feeling you may know the answer to this, but what was that old show where the little kid would go find Mr. Wilson? What was that?
Dennis the Menace.
Dennis the Menace. Thank you. I knew you'd know that. I don't know how I knew you know that, but guess what? Might as well call that this game, because those are 2 names you're going to get to know. Jeff Wilson Jr. and Cedric Wilson. Get ready. You're going to get to know some Wilsons going up in the next matchup. Mike McDaniel's definitely going to fire them up coming up this weekend. So I like them in a little sneaky play, believe it or not.
You can't hold anything back.
You cannot. That's damn right. Let's go to a game that seems absolutely boring after talking about that one. The Patriots at the Bills. Patriots, they're 9th against fantasy QBs, 13th against RBs, 18th against receivers. They're numero uno against tight ends. Bills, 6th against QBs, 18th against running backs, 4th against receivers, and 6th versus tight ends. So guys you like and don't like in this one.
Yeah, look, New England is a dumpster fire. And yes, okay, New England did beat the Bills. Let's not forget that. New England has beaten the Bills already. But look, that was a different Bills team. This was not the MVP candidate, Allen. Allen is on fire, throwing no less than 2 touchdowns in every single game since week 1. He threw 3 in the loss to New England in week 7. He's QB1 in the last 4 games. He's QB1 overall. And I do believe that Belichick will negate Diggs again. Diggs is getting a lot fewer high target shots with the new OC, but I don't think that's going to stop this train at all. Cook has had 100 all-purpose yards in week 7 in the loss. We're going to hear about Douglas. Week 7, Douglas secured 4 of 6 targets for 54 receiving yards. Douglas is going to run 66% of his routes approximately against Teron Johnson. Teron Johnson allows a 76.5% catch rate and 106.2 passer rating. So there is a bright side on the fantasy aspect for New England, but that's about it. Downgrade Zeke or Stevenson, whoever comes in there. No running backs gone over 100 over the last 5 games, to include 4 team totals. So the entire Chargers team, the entire Dallas team, Kansas City, Philly, New York. These are big running teams. The Chargers, the Cowboys, Kansas City, Philly, the Jets. None of them have been able to accumulate 100 rushing yards overall. No receiving running back has gotten more than 29 yards over the last 4. You're talking about Breece Hall. You're talking about Pacheco. Eckler. Buffalo's just on fire. Buffalo's going to win this game. They're going to win it handily. And I'll tell you the sneaky play. The sneaky play is Dawson Knox. As New England gives up the 2nd most fantasy points to tight ends, look for Davis and Shakur to kind of compensate, but I like Dawson Knox in this one for a sneaky, nice value play in your DFS side.
All right. Well, this game's so boring. I don't even want to talk about it. Let's go to
next one.
The one thing I will talk about was the best reel I saw all week was Bailey Zappi going into the Patriots locker room, seeing Bill O'Brien and having this great hug, and they're excited. They just won. And then he looks over the cross room and there's Bill Belichick. He's fucking over there all stoic. And the camera view's from his side, so you can't really see his face. But he Bailey Zappi basically stops and points at Bill almost like, hey, is it safe to come over? And then gave him a handshake. It was so awkward. Bro, that guy is so out of touch right now. Anyway, let's move on. Falcons at the Bears. Another great matchup here, but the Falcons against fantasy QBs are 20th, against running backs 3rd, receivers number 2, and against tight ends 23. Bears, they're hot lately as well but against fantasy QBs are 21st, 19th against running backs, 14th against receivers, and 29th versus tight ends. What say you guys? You like and don't like in this one?
Look, Falcons runs they are mastering the man-to-man defense. They are shutting people down. They're allowing 4th fewest fantasy points to the perimeter. They're middle of the pack against the slot, so you can work the middle of the field a little bit. Atlanta gives up, like you said, the 3rd fewest fantasy points to RBs. So just dial that down a little bit. Like you said, 2nd to wide receivers, so we can downgrade more. They've allowed 10 or less points in 3 of the last 4 to wide receivers. It's ridiculous. Atlanta does give up the 10th most fantasy points to tight ends, and Chicago gives up the 3rd most to tight ends. So look for Komet, look for maybe Pitts to do something. I don't know. But Bijan doesn't have above 15 over the last 4 games. London's been single digits in all but 3, but if there's a receiver I'm going to like in this game, it's going to be London. He's only popped up a couple times. He's only gone over 13 fantasy points once, but he's going to be the guy. If anybody's going to get volume, it's going to be him. Chicago gives the 12th most points to wide receivers. I just don't think it's worth the risk. Fields might get, is going to get something, but again, is it worth the risk? And I think in this game, the juice is not worth the squeeze. I'm probably going to stay away from it.
The juice, not worth the squeeze. I love it. Spicy Raider Chick, what is up? Thank you for checking in. Raiders got a little fight in them, boy. I got like what they're doing. Like that defense a lot, man. Appreciate you checking in. Don't forget to check us out on Sunday. I mean, well, you can obviously check out the replay, but we're going to be giving we'll be giving away prizes for people who have commented all year and liked and subscribed. So make sure you check that out on Sunday. Everyone involved, but especially if you commented like Spicy Raider Chick, make sure you check in. Might have a prize there waiting on you. So, all right, we'll check it out. Let's go to the next matchup. Thank you again. Make sure you go check out the Spicy.
Perfect timing.
Yeah,
next matchup by Spicy Raider Chick.
Said, sorry, my Steeler friend, but I'm gonna need you to lose to the Ravens.
I hear you. It's probably gonna happen.
I hear you. Hey, listen, I'm on the opposite end of that though, so I'm pulling for you on that point. Oh, and make sure you check out their YouTube page for Life Our Raider Story. Lots of great content on there. The clip of when she came on here and called that dude out from Vegas and called him.
Oh my gosh,
that was the funniest thing
my gosh.
ever. I mean, I still makes me laugh thinking about it. So can't wait for the summer. We're gonna bring that back. Hopefully, we get them both on. That'll be great.
Let's talk some Raiders.
Let's go. Raiders at Colts, right? So against fantasy QBs, Raiders are 14th, running backs 21st, receivers are 12th, and against tight ends are 13th. Colts 8th against QBs, 30th against running backs, 10th against receivers, and 20th against tight ends. Now we heard Doc mention Josh Jacobs to doubtful, although Zamir White, when he filled in a couple weeks ago, played well. So it's going to be a tough one, but we'll see. What do you think, guys? You like and don't like?
No, I love White in this one. The Colts give up the 4th most points to running backs. The Colts have given 15 points to 5 running backs in 4 games. In 4 games, 5 running backs have gotten 15 points. That tells you how bad it is. I love White in this one. I think he's going to be a fantastic play. The Colts have been stingy to the for their pass defense. They allow the 8th fewest fantasy points to wide receivers. O'Connell hasn't completed a pass since the first quarter in the last game, even though they still managed to win it. He ranks QB 34 over his last 4. Still, Adams has double-digit targets in 4 of the last 6 games. It's just this defense, the way they operate, how well they've done. I don't know if Adams is going to, he's going to draw targets. He's going to open up the run, I think, for White. And White can catch a ball, too. Las Vegas gives up the 11th most fantasy points to the running back position. So, I don't mind the Indianapolis running room there as well. So running backs, yes. I know Pittman is probably going to play, but I don't know if he's healthy. Minshew is, pretty low down the list. I like White and Taylor, and that's probably about it in this one. Winner, I'm going to go. I'm sorry, Spicy Raider Chick. I think Las Vegas has the best chance to win, but I like the Colts at home. I'm a home kind of biased to the home teams though sometimes too.
Yeah, no, it's comfortable, right? Jonathan Taylor, should have a good day. I do like Zamir White as well. I mean, it's a really toss up to me, honestly. And like you said, usually you would go to the home team. However, since Spicy Raider Chick's in, I gotta go.
I appreciate that. That's good. Yeah.
Hey, listen, JB, I want to give one little quick shout out to JB, actually, Spicy, because remember when you guys were arguing, it was all about because he said y'all were going to the Super Bowl, and guess what? It's December 29th. And it ain't over yet.
It's not.
All right,
I do like that. Both teams are playing for their life in this game. So I think we're going to get a good game here.
Yeah, that's why. Yeah. And the defense is like, sometimes they show up and they're a little suspect at times too. So you might get a sneaky little shootout in this game too. So I'm really interested to see how this plays out. Good matchup for sure. All right, let's go Rams at Giants. And a complete opposite of what that game was. Against fantasy QBs, Rams actually are 26th. Running backs are first, 23rd against receivers, and 30th against tight ends. Giants 16th against QBs, 24th against running backs, 26th against receivers, and 8th versus tight ends. What say you? Is there a guy you like on the Giants at all? And of course, who you like on the Rams?
Actually, yes. LA gives the 5th most points to quarterbacks and tight ends, and they're second best to running backs. So you could get some DFS value with the Giants receiving room, I think, and that'll give you the opportunity to grab some higher level players, and still possibly come out with some points. The big points, of course, are going to come from the Rams. The Giants give the 8th most points to running backs at 21.3. They give the 5th most to wide receivers at 31.2. The league average for running backs is 18.3 to make the top 10. It is 21 for wide receivers to make the top 10. So I expect to see Rams running backs and Rams receivers in that top 10. Now, which Rams receiver? Puka's currently questionable. We'll see if he plays. According to what Doc said, if not, I really like Cooper. Cooper Kupp has had double-digit targets and 100+ yards in 2 of the last 3. If Puka doesn't go, I love Cooper in this one. Stafford's QB3 over his last 4. So Rams, I expect Rams players to go big player Rams. But yeah, you might be able to get a wide receiver snuck in there for the Giants.
Yeah, I mean, this could be, now again, everyone's all expecting Matt Stafford to have this huge day. We're going to talk about this in our next matchup, kind of the same scenario. It could play out. This team gets up early and they just start running the football and look more for a Kyron Williams type day. And as we go into this next one, Cardinals at Eagles, like I said, could be the same exact setup. She said, haha, touche, but he's a poser.
JB, where are you at? Come on, you're going to take that.
Cannot wait. I can't wait for the summer. I'm going to be begging for that to happen.
Oh, they got to
All right, Cardinals at Eagles. Again, same kind of scenario that we could see. Cardinals against fantasy QBs are 29th. Against running backs, they are dead last. Receivers are 16th. Tight ends are 16th. Eagles, they are dead last against fantasy QBs. 5th against running backs, dead last against receivers, and 22nd against tight ends. So what say you in a game that might, if Kyler Murray comes to play, might be a fun little shootout? But what do you say, guys you like and don't like?
I mean, yeah, you still expect the Eagles to win, but that is the stat, right? The Eagles have allowed the most fantasy points to wide receivers this season, and the most, if not second most, depending on where you look at it, to quarterbacks. So Murray could have a good day. Here's the thing. They allow the 6th most to the perimeter, but they allow the most fantasy points in football to the slot position. Philadelphia has yielded a league-high 27 touchdowns to the wide receiver position. 21 wide receivers have reached 15 fantasy points over 15 games. In 15 games, 21 guys have gotten 15+ fantasy points. Let that marinate. So you're going to get some fantasy value with Moore. Moore's going to sit in the slot 70% of the time. But on the flip side, Philly's also 3rd best against running backs, whereas Arizona gives the most to running backs. So look for Swift to have a nice day. Look for Hurts to be able to run. Arizona's 1-4 over the last 5, giving up a ton of touchdowns. 3 to Stroud, 4 to both Purdy and Stafford. Swift, Hurts, they go big. Again, you grab one of those Giants receivers and grab yourself some Swift and Hurts in your DFS plays and your championship games. You were playing them anyway, but feel good about playing them.
Feeling like this is A.J. Brown get right before the playoff game, too, for some reason. So. I got that crawl in the back of my, you know what I mean? There's just something there that's like, A.J. Brown got to get right, and what a game to do it against this Cardinal team. I mean, it just feels like
Devonta's got to eat a little bit too, right? I mean,
of course. I mean, yeah, he's not going to not eat. I just think that there was a stat I heard since Goddard's been back, the amount of targets that he's seen regressed since Goddard's been back. Devonta Smith, I'm talking about. So that could play in a factor too. Could see a lot of Goddard in this game also.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, Goddard's definitely someone you want to look at for sure.
Yeah, we haven't seen a big Goddard game come up. This could be that time. All right, let's go 49ers at the Commanders in a game that'll probably, if it was at 4, I'd be taking a nap. Against QBs, 49ers are 3rd. Against running backs are 7th. Against receivers are 15th. Against tight ends are 4th. Commanders 31st against QBs, 26th against running backs, 31st against receivers, 12th against tight ends. Jacoby Brissett, Sam Howell, I don't know. I don't know if it would matter, but what say you, guys you like and don't like?
I mean, look, there's not a lot to say about this game. Like you said, Washington's 2nd most fantasy points, only beaten by Philly. 2nd most fantasy points. to wide receivers. They've given up the most yards, the most touchdowns at 23, the highest yards per target to wide receivers this season. They've surrendered the most points to the perimeter, the 9th most of the slot. 49ers are going to eat. Debo's going to eat. Ayuk's going to eat. CMC, of course, is going to eat. If you're one of these guys that just has to, look, Washington can do something. The slot for Washington, the 49ers are mid-pack versus slot wide receivers. But, I'm not touching that at all. And, since you liked it so much the last time, let's go again with the Chris Fox fantasy profile here. And let's bring in your boy. Whoop. Nope, that's not who I wanted.
That's all right.
Let's bring in your boy. Nope, I want to go this way. Come on, we'll get there. CMC, there we go. CMC is there. He's top 10 running back 12 times. Number 1 fantasy running back overall, as we know. He's plus 20 fantasy points in 8 of the last 9 games. One of only 10 running backs to go over 30. He's the only guy to give you plus 42 times this year. This might be his 3rd time to do it against this Washington team. He's going to have a nice game. I would be surprised if you see these guys play the entire game in this one, being where they are. Once they lock this thing down, I think that's going to be it.
That was giving me Trenches vibes there for a second.
A little bit, right?
All right, well, get Adam Thielen pulled that back up.
I will. He'll be ready. He'll be ready.
At the Jaguars. Here we go against fantasy QBs. Panthers 5th against fantasy QBs, 29th against running backs, 6th against receivers. They're doing the same thing. I swear, this is the same game plan as the Texans last year. It was the same exact thing. I swear it was like the biggest anomaly. The Texans would always shut down receivers, but it would almost be like because they got up on them and they would just run the football. That would what you thought. But then when teams would come in, they really would shut them the fuck down for some reason.
Yeah,
so it's actually pretty decent. Against tight ends, they're 11th. Jaguars defensively are a mess. 28th against QBs, 25th against receivers, 27th against tight ends. They are 12th against running backs, so they do have a nice, strong front line anyway. Without Lawrence in this, is going to be interesting, but give me some guys you like and don't like.
Look, Carolina, 4th fewest fantasy points to wide receivers, 7th fewest to the perimeters, fewest points in all of football to the slot. Only 3 wide receivers. This is a fun stat. Only 3 wide receivers have reached 19 fantasy points or more against Carolina. That's Evans, Hill, and Jefferson. Those are the 3 guys that have gotten over 19. Without T-Law, Ridley's not looking like a great play. Beathard is number 1 in completion percentage over the last 4 for the entire NFL. But I don't, just because he catches them doesn't mean he does anything with them. Carolina's pass defense, they've been shutting people down. However, they also suffer from one of the league's worst run defenses. They give the 5th most, 23.4 to running backs. ETN has not gone over 14 fantasy points or had a top 10 finish since week 8. However, in PPR, he is still fantasy running back number 5 thanks to his 51 receptions. In PPR, that's going to kill. Carolina has allowed 6 running backs to eclipse 20 fantasy points. I like ETN this week on the Jacksonville side of the ball. They rank 3rd most to quarterbacks, 8th to running backs, 4th most to wide receivers. So there is room for Carolina to eat. Most importantly, they rank 6th to slot wide receivers. We'll bring that up here in a minute and why that's important. Hubbard has 3 straight weeks at 12 fantasy points, but could get a couple trips to the end zone in this one to help pad his numbers. That said,
what does the fox say? See, we can set this up.
I hate to say Jacksonville's going to lose this game to Carolina, but I called for Carolina to win it last week. They were seconds away from taking it, milliseconds away from taking it to overtime. Maybe I spoke in the wrong week. I'm taking Carolina this week to rely on that defense and a Jacksonville team missing their starting quarterback. I do think ETN's going to eat, but I think Carolina's going to win this game.
Yeah, I don't want to reveal a lot, because we do this on Sunday, the picks, but I'll just do a quick little, I agree with you on this. I do like Carolina in this particular matchup, especially without Lawrence. Like I said, it's going to be interesting. Their defense is just atrocious, and Carolina's got a good defense, so could be the right formula for them to take this W this weekend. All right, let's go Titans at Texans. Finish up the 1 o'clocks. Boy, that's a long list. It's going to be exciting 1 o'clock.
I know. The one you better have have Red Zone or something.
Yeah,
You better have something.
If you have the YouTube TV, they do have a nice little. They have a few channels where they have a few of the games plus Red Zone. So I try to put that on, and then obviously watch the main game on. But all right, let's go. Titans at Texans. Funny thing is, the wife thinks that the Cardinals and Eagles are going to be on the TV, but they're really not, because who cares? Titans at the Texans against fantasy QBs. They are 15th. The Titans against running backs are 17th. Against receivers are 24th. Against tight ends are 2nd. The Texans, they're 22nd against QBs, 11th versus running backs, 17th against receivers, 25th against tight ends. So what say you guys you like and don't like in this one?
Like Titans defense was doing okay there for a while, and then they've kind of fallen off, especially at home.
Wait. What happened to the Adam Thielen thing? I forgot. What happened?
I'm waiting for what. So okay.
Well, is it later?
Things. That's later.
All right, wait a minute. All right, go ahead.
It'll all make sense. The Titans are dealing with major injury issues in the secondary, and that's why the defense has fallen off so much. Tennessee allows the 5th most fantasy points to wide receivers this season, which before a few minutes ago when this show started, might have not meant too much to you, but now we know that Stroud is coming back. He's going to play. They allow the 2nd most points to the perimeter, the 9th fewest to the slot. So look for those outside guys to be burning it up all day with Stroud throwing the ball. I love Nico Collins, who plays 80% on the perimeter. Brown, who's questionable right now, I think he'll play. He's 59% on the perimeter. 2nd most of the perimeter versus those numbers. Stroud tossing the ball, and he can drop it in there. Let me tell you, I know from experience, Houston gives the 9th most to quarterbacks and 6th most to tight ends. So look for, the Titans to try and work their tight end in a little bit. Henry's better than Houston's middle of the pack average versus running backs, but do you want to take the risk? Maybe you have to. Hopefully you can go somewhere else. It's Henry, so you don't know what you're going to get. Love the Houston side of the ball in this one, especially I look for Stroud and those receivers to have a big day. I'm taking Texans in this one.
Yeah, I misspoke and said Tank Dell as we started. And then I was like, well, wait a minute. Because I was like, it was no Brown hurt. I couldn't even think of one because, who knows who's healthy in this one for them. But whoever is, get ready because CJ Stroud is already locked and loaded. So again, could be a fun matchup there in Texas. All right, well, we went through some starters all through the 1:00 games, but some of you have some questions on your flex spot. Well, that's when we bring our boy Bandy in from the 4th and Flex podcast. He got your flex starts of the week.
Welcome back to Bandy's Flex Starts of the Week. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Bandy's Flex Starts of the Week. Woo! It's the Fantasy Championships. Man, you made it. All this work you've done all season has brought you to this point right here, right now. And I've got a few guys that are going to help bring home the gold. Starting off with a guy who's on an offense that doesn't do a lot. But one guy always does something, and that is Demario Douglas on the Patriots. This guy has been doing it ever since coming off an injury. He's really killing it. So make sure you throw Demario Douglas in your flex spot for these championships, baby. Moving on to the next guy on my list. A rookie kind of coming out of nowhere on a team, just crazy injuries all over the place. I'm talking about Jalen Reed. On the Packers, the rookie has come in and done his thing. Bright spot on that offense. Even running the ball sometimes. Jalen Reed, man, the Packers have found something in him, and you can find him in your flex spot this week. Moving on to the last guy on my list. A guy that started the season off really hot. Slowed down, cooled down, but I think he's on the way back up. And that is your boy Adam Thielen, the Asian receiver on the Panthers. Adam Thielen, man, still proving that he is him. Guys, good luck in your fantasy championships. It's all led up to this point right here, and if you listen to your boy Bandy, I help get you there. Check out the Fourth and Flex Fantasy Football Podcast, and thank you for listening to me all season long, baby. Let's get it.
Thank you. I've been working out.
Bandy, happy New Year to you and yours, my friend. We appreciate all your hard work all season long. And gotta like the new graphics coming out for the flex starts. Gotta love
Absolutely. Gotta back my boy Bandy up. Now we're ready for the Thielen package. Here we go. Adam Thielen coming in to Chris Fox's fantasy profile. Let's go. No. They're not. It was all queued up. It's ready to go. Adam Thielen, the veteran. Look, he's 3 times in your top 5, but it was way back at the beginning of the season. So everybody kind of fell off Adam Thielen, and rightfully so. He's had no touchdown since week 6, but as your boy Bandy alluded to, he is back on the come up. 6+ targets since week 13 in every game. Jacksonville ranks 4th most to wide receivers, but here's the stat that makes Thielen relevant. 6th most to slot receivers. We already talked about we think Carolina's going to win. Jacksonville's going to be without. They're going to be relying on ETN, and that means Carolina's going to be able to pass. And with those kind of stats, with that kind of opening, I look for Thielen to get back on track. Bandy knows what the heck he's talking about. Fourth and Flex, check those guys out because they got it locked down. Bandy and Trey, we appreciate you, and thank you for the heads up on that.
Much love to our boys at the Fourth and Flex podcast. Happy New Year, fellas. All right, let's get it on. Your boys, Steelers at the Seahawks against fantasy QBs. Your boys are 11th, 25th against running backs, 22nd against receivers, 14th against tight ends. The Seahawks, 19th against QBs, 28th against running backs, 20th against receivers, 17th against tight ends. So, what do you say without being biased, guys you like and don't like?
Yeah, I really try not to be biased, and it's real hard, but I don't know. Look, in the Christmas spirit, Tomlin has decided to name Rudolph as the starter to help guide us through the fog and hopefully get us back to that plus 500 or at least 500 season, but we got to do it against Seattle in Seattle, and that is an uphill battle. Pickett's monster week last week was awesome, but it was preceded by 39-yard per game average over the previous 8. It was nice to get that game in. I don't think it's going to happen against Seattle. Joey Porter Jr. has been a highlight on the defense. He's been exceedingly successful versus wide receiver ones, and he'll be matched up with DK Metcalf, which I think could be a problem because that guy is a beast. Look for Lockett and JSN to compensate, though. Metcalf's numbers go down a little bit. There's no reason to throw at Metcalf if you don't have to. No reason to throw at Porter Jr. if you don't have to. With guys like Lockett and JSN, you can do that. Geno has not gone over 17 fantasy points. He's only gone over 17 fantasy points twice since week 4 and 3 times all season long. He's only got 2 touchdowns over the last 5 games, so I'm not looking for huge numbers here from Geno. Pittsburgh has done well holding teams down to low fantasy numbers and stuff like that. Who's going to win? In Seattle, 12th man, Seattle's season on the line. It's going to be the Steelers, baby. Of course the Steelers are going to win this. We're going to protect that 500 record. We're not going to lose that 18 consecutive seasons. It's going to happen. It's going to happen to Seattle. Seattle is not playing well right now overall. Their backs are against the wall. And if you'd asked me 6 weeks ago, I'd have said Seattle's going to stand up to the challenge. Right now, you talk about games you might not want to watch because it's going to be messy. If you're not a Pittsburgh fan or a Seattle fan, you might want to tune into something else because it's not going to be pretty.
Well, not only is it not going to be pretty, given a little bit away from Sunday, but it was literally the only game that I found on the weather report that literally said 92% chance of rain, 51 degrees. So weather going to play a factor in this as well, which when you look at the defenses, the Steelers struggle a little bit against the run, and well, so is Seattle. So you could see a little bit of Najee in this one, again,
playing right into it.
Weather plays a big factor, of course. So we'll see. We'll check it out. It's going to be a fun one to watch at 4. Chargers at the Broncos, and a one that it was like, which team doesn't want to win this the most?
Yeah.
Chargers against fantasy QBs are 30th, running backs 22nd, 30th against receivers, 18th versus tight ends. Broncos 24th against QBs, 31st against running backs, 11th versus receivers. They're dead last against tight ends. So, what do you say, guys? You like or don't like anybody in this? I don't even know what to say. Like, it's almost it's embarrassment. Oh, you hit mute on yourself, or did I hit? You're muted. You're muted. It says you muted it too.
There we go. Are we back?
There it is. Yep.
Hey, there we go. I really didn't mute it. That same thing happened last week.
I mean, that was pretty much what this game was going to be like.
That's pretty much it. That sums it up right there. What I was saying is, you know how you get these games? They're like two really crappy teams. They're just horrible teams, and they end up putting up a really great game, an entertaining game because both teams suck. You get like points all over the place because both teams suck. This is not that game. This is going to be that crappy. All right, look, I mean, we already know that Herbert's out. Allen is likely not going to play. Palmer's in concussion protocol. He's not going to play as far as the Charger side. Denver, they pulled Wilson out already. Sutton's still in concussion protocol. Mims would have been the play, but he's questionable. Judy is now questionable. So none of the starters are playing on either side of the ball. If you're just one of those stubborn guys that has to play someone because you're not supposed to, obviously Gerald Everett is the only play in this entire game. He's got 3 receptions for 5 catches, 3 games in a row, and Denver has given up 10 TDs, 4th most catches, 2nd most yards to tight ends. If anybody's going to do anything, it's Gerald Everett. I don't even know if he's going to be able to pull anything off. This is this is worse than the Pittsburgh-Seattle game. This is worse than that New England Bills game. This is the TSS Fantasy worst game of the week. Maybe the worst game of the entire year.
I mean, we probably, we'll see. Let's let it play out first. But yeah, it definitely seems that way. And definitely, I don't even have confidence in the defenses. I wouldn't even start them either. There's just nothing. All right, let's go to Bengals at the Chiefs. A little more interesting here. Against fantasy QBs, Bengals 23rd, running backs 20th, receivers 28th, and they're 31st against tight ends. Chiefs 7th against QBs, 16th against running backs, 3rd against receivers, and 3rd versus tight ends. What say you guys? You like and don't like?
Hey,
other than Travis Kelce.
Yeah, right. The Chiefs are 5th fewest fantasy points to the wide receiver position, 2nd fewest to the perimeter over the past 8 games, and that's because of Snead. Snead has shut down literally every wide receiver one that's come his way. Adams twice, he shut down Hill, you name him, he shut them all down. So what's going to be interesting is if Chase comes back. If Chase comes back, Snead will likely be on Chase, and that will open up Higgins a little bit. But if Chase comes back, then Snead is going to shut down Higgins, and I don't know where else you go from there. The Bengals give up the 6th most points to wide receivers over the past 8 weeks, 4th most to the perimeter, and 9th most to the slot. So Kansas City should be able to get on track if the receivers can catch the damn ball, but you really got to like Rashee Rice here. He's got a 28% target share, which is highest on the team. He's got over 90 fantasy points over the last 5, which is triple the next guy on the team. The number 1 option for the Chiefs is going to be Kelce. Obviously, the Bengals have given up over 15 points per game to fantasy tight ends, which is 2nd most in the league. Bright spots for Cincinnati. Browning is QB5 in fantasy points over the last 4. He's got 20-plus points in 3 of the last 4. He's QB2 over those last 4 games. The issue, of course, is it's 6 touchdowns to 5 interceptions. Turnovers will destroy you. Mixon's fantasy value has been declining, but he's going to be the Bengals' best option, which is not great because Kansas City gives the 2nd lowest points to QBs and wide receivers, 3rd lowest to tight ends. That means they'll go to the running back. They're 12th against running backs. I don't really see Cincinnati having much of a chance, and that's based on numbers. Numbers don't always tell the whole story. I like the Chiefs at home to get back on track and with something to prove, definitely chip on their shoulder, and they got something to prove to everybody if we're going to take them seriously in the playoffs coming up.
Yeah, for real. I do think it's a definite get right game for Travis Kelce. Definitely set up for him to get right. So I would think Andy Reid would want to do that, especially how frustrated he was, and obviously Patrick Mahomes, so crybaby ass was as well. All right, let's go. Let's go. The Sunday nighter. The Packers at the Vikings against fantasy QBs. Packers are 18th, running backs 23rd, 19th against receivers, and 24th against tight ends. Vikings D against fantasy QBs are 12th, 9th against running backs, 21st against receivers. Makes sense. They're blitz happy, right? So, of course, the receivers will get the deep balls, and plus they have Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and tight ends, they are 9th. So, what say you, guys, you like and don't like?
Look, this is a division game. It's a division with no defense really stepping up to do anything across the board. So normally you would look for something. Look, everyone of note that plays for Minnesota is all questionable or worse, except for Justin Jefferson. So I don't really know, who's going to step up, who's going to do what. What's not in question is that Hawkinson is done for the entire season. You could get some sneaky value with his replacement Munt this week. The Packers are a mid-pack, 15th most fantasy points to tight end, so you might get something. You're not going to get a lot. Minnesota does give the 10th most fantasy points to wide receivers, which is definitely Green Bay's strength if they have one. Green Bay, however, has only won 2 road games since week 1, even though the last week was really close. They still got the win. They're 2-2 in the conference. Like I said, this conference is just all over the place. They really battle. Love's QB 10 over his last 4, but most importantly, Love has 8 touchdowns and only 1 interception. He's plus 100 rating over that span. So I really like Love in this one. I like his receivers to eat. It's a matter of picking which receiver. It's kind of flip the dice, roll the, as a crapshoot to figure out which guy's going to go. But it's a must win for both teams. Loser's going to be out. And so I expect this one to be good. I expect to see a dogfight in this one. I expect Green Bay to come out on top.
Whenever I'm trying to make decisions, I always flip the dice, Chris. I mean, hello. Cool.
Yeah, that's what draft day dice. I use the draft day dice.
Hey,
you don't have a set,
nice.
Get yourself a set.
Look, no, those are actually
100%.
really fun. But he's not paying for promo, so we're not. Just kidding. Excuse me. I had mentioned earlier prior, just because my opponent does have Ty Chandler. I was a little nervous. Packers are not good against running backs. So I was a little nervous and still am, but Madison coming in eats in a little bit of that. But I think Ty Chandler's cemented his role, looks much better than Madison. I would. I mean, but again, I don't know. These teams, start to question: do they want to win? I don't even know. It's just crazy at some of these.
It's almost like this is one of those someone has to win games, right?
Right.
Somebody's got to come out on top. I mean,
I feel like the Packers are wanting it more. That's just.
I think they do, but I mean, they barely beat Carolina of all teams.
Right. Correct.
Won by a field goal, and that definitely, again, milliseconds could have changed that game. If we were still on the hundredths of a second clock from back in the day, I think Carolina would have got that kick and we would have went to overtime. So
no, 100%. Absolutely. Yeah. No, 100%. Yeah. So again, a big pivotal matchup there in the NFC North, believe it or not. Well, listen, it's Friday, Netflix and chill time coming up. But before we do that, we got to get in the mood, and it's time for Nikki's Friday Night Fantasies.
Here we go.
What's up, everybody? It's Nikki from the Blonde Blitz. And here are my Week 17 Fantasy Loves.
Live! Happy New Year!
This week, I've got a crush on Brandon Cooks. I know he's fallen off the past few weeks, but in 3 of his last 4 home games, he's topped 16 fantasy points. And this week, the Dallas Cowboys are going up against the red-hot Detroit Lions. They may be red hot, but they also struggle against opposing wide receivers. They've given up the 2nd most in rushing yards and 5th most in touchdowns to that position. I think Cook will have a very high upside this week.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Happy New Year! Seriously?
I am infatuated with DeAndre Swift. If you played him last week, you certainly had a very Merry Christmas. I didn't, because he went up against my New York Giants and went for 92 yards and had 15.2 fantasy points. But the Eagles are getting the Arizona Cardinals this week, who have given up the second most rushing yards to running backs this season.
What do you mean you're at another party? Who am I supposed to kiss? Mother.
And finally, once again, my heart belongs in LA with the Rams, except they're playing in New York against my New York Giants. I know I've been on and off with Matt Stafford, but he's been my first fantasy love for as long as I can remember. There's no better time to play him than right now, since Matt Stafford and that offense are clicking on all cylinders. Stafford is averaging 21.8 fantasy points, and the Giants' defense has given up 17 plus fantasy points to 6 opposing quarterbacks this season. 2 of those happened in the last 2 weeks when they gave up over 20 fantasy points. Unfortunately, the Rams tend to blow out the New York Giants. So if you want to start Matt Stafford in your lineup, I think you will have a very happy New Year. That's it for week 17, everybody. Good luck, and I will see you in 2024.
Guys, I think we should break up.
I'll talk about it. I found that whole montage earlier today. It was so funny. I was like, poor dude. Jeez, oh, please. I feel bad for him. Thank you, Nikki. Appreciate you. Happy New Year's to you and yours and all your contributions to us this year. We always appreciate you. Everyone else watching out there, we appreciate you for joining us. Make sure you join us on New Year's Eve. Wake up with us on New Year's Eve. 8 a.m. We're going to break down all the matchups. We're going to have some fantasy friends in. We're going to have some people that are going to, some people. We're going to have our other friends help you out, get paid. Of course, Ariel brings some great betting advice on Sunday mornings, and we're going to continue that. This is our final fantasy breakdown of 2023. We'll see you next season. Of course, Mr. Fox, thank you so much for your contributions this season. We appreciate you. Happy New Year to you and yours. Before we head out, let everyone know where they can follow, subscribe, and get all your great content, my friend.
Well, you can find us all over the Fantasy Sports Network, but the big place to find us and really interact with us and have a great time is right here at That Effin' Morning After Show. We do it live every Tuesday at 9:30 a.m. with the Adam Hulse, NFL writer at Sportskeeda. We wrap up the fantasy week. We get you all set up for the next one, and we do it all live. Stats, numbers, all the dats, just everything you need to win, and we do it all Tuesdays at 9:30. Thank you, my friend.
Absolutely love it. Make sure you go get some of that. Also, don't forget on Sunday, we'll be answering fantasy questions. That was the other thing. I didn't have like my little thing in front of me and I got lost on what I was going to say. But the main thing I want to say, make sure you come on Sunday morning because we're going to open that sack up. The Jester sack going to get open. We're going to give away some great prizes on Sunday morning for those who have been listening and contributing. We're going to show you our appreciation and wish you in a new year and throw out some great prizes for you guys as well. So make sure you check us out on Sunday morning. All right, guys. Well, we appreciate you. Good luck. This on Saturday is the only thing we'll have, and we'll see you then. We'll see you on New Year's Eve.
Happy New Year.
All right.